Welcome in, everybody. Let's talk some trades. What do you think? This has been an interesting day. We've had some minor trades between the Dodgers involved in both of the deals. So I got to thinking, let's talk about some big trades. Let's talk about what's been out there the last 24 hours, what's been out there the last couple of months, kind of take a look at what are the odds of a deal actually happening with some of these guys and where they might land. So that is what we're going to do in this video. We are live for this one. Welcome everybody in. David, Camden, AB, Nate, Steel Badger, everybody that's here early. Good to see you in. Yes, so we did have a couple deals. The Marlins pick up Dylan Floro from the Dodgers for a couple of prospects, Alex Visa and Kyle Hurt, which is not the last name you want for a right-handed pitcher, but hey, you know, it is what it is. And then on the other side, the Dodgers also acquired Sheldon Neuse in a minor league right-handed pitcher, Gus Varland, from the Athletics for lefty Adam Kolarek and a minor league outfielder, Cody Thomas. So a couple of small trades. Let's talk about some big trades. Let's talk about a lot of what's been out there. I do see Austin about a Derek Fisher DFA. Listen, he may be gone, but he may not, because if he clears waivers, they may just keep him, put him in the minor leagues. Anyway, let's talk about one of the biggest moves that's been out there. Let's talk about this thing. And everybody that's here right now, make sure you hit that like. Hit that like if you are into the trade market. If that's your thing, if you want your team to get in on this trade market, hit that like. Let's get this thing up. A lot of teams in these swirling trade wins. And comment below. Let me know what you think. Who do you want your team to get? Who are we going to be talking about? Who do you want your team to get? 1 second, everybody. What? Did you just start your video? Yes, I did. That's my daughter making a little cameo. Okay, so let's start out right at the top. The biggest name over the last 24 hours, and that's this guy, Kris Bryant. What do you guys think? Here's my deal with Kris Bryant. So you got the Mets, really hard for him. I think you could have some other teams in, but ultimately, I think it's more likely that he's going to get moved in June. Now, the longer the Cubs hold on to him, the less they're going to get, right? If they trade him halfway through the year, somebody might look at him as a true rental. If somebody trades for him now, they're going to try to extend him. I think the odds of him getting traded now really are something like 33%. I'm going to put it at 33% for a potential deal now. That's my thought. For him to get dealt during the season, I'm going to say it's a 90%. I think it is 90%. And that really, I should put an asterisk next to that. That depends on how the Cubs are doing. If the Cubs are struggling, the Cubs aren't getting anything done, they're going to deal him. If it looks like it is over there in Cubs land, it is going to be bye-bye Kris Bryant. 33% odds for him to be traded now, 90% for him to get traded during the season. And the three teams that I think make the most sense for him kind of stand out above the rest. And we're going to talk about who the rest are in a minute. The Mets, obviously. I think the Blue Jays. And I also think the Giants. I know the Giants have Longoria right now, but what if Longoria gets hurt? There's versatility with Bryant. He can slide into the outfield. If the Giants are trying to get a wild card spot, if there's some vulnerability there, the Giants, I could see the Giants maybe surprising people and trying to beef up, because, you know, the Padres and Dodgers are going to be good for a while. The Giants might decide to beef up. So, but I think the Mets are going to be the favorite. Giants may be the long shot. I think Jays are in there if there's a possibility that, you know, they don't feel like they're going to be able to re-sign Semien. So there is some potential there with Kris Bryant. Let me know what you guys think. If you want Kris Bryant on your team, hit that like. If you want Kris Bryant to be a member of your club. Now, let's talk about this. I said this is about the odds of a deal getting done. This is about where these guys might land, and we're going to go through about 20 of them. All right, so here's the teams that could be in the market to acquire. They could be in the market to acquire now or during the season. The Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Rays, the Red Sox, 4 teams in that East. The Twins and White Sox, the 2 in the Central, and then out west, the A's and the Astros. Over in the National League, the Mets, the Braves, the Phillies, and the Nats. You could see all four of those teams trying to add once we get into the season. Then the Brewers, Cardinals, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Cubs are playing well. I could see them make a move or two. And then the Giants, Dodgers, and Padres. If there are injuries in Dodger land, or if the Padres are scuffling and somebody's hurt or not performing, I could see some moves happening on one-year guys, rental guys that they won't have to pay beyond 2021. And some of that salary may get taken in a trade. Now, who could be selling? The Orioles, the Indians, Royals, Tigers, Rangers, Mariners, Marlins, Reds, Pirates, Rockies, Diamondbacks could all be selling. And there are teams that I just listed that could be buying that could also turn into sellers. The Red Sox could turn into sellers. The Athletics could turn into sellers. The Cubs and the Giants could turn into sellers. So there are a handful of teams that I think could be buyers or sellers. It's going to depend on how the season is going. If the Red Sox get to the end of June and it's no go, no good, they could turn into sellers. So let's get into more of these players. Now that we've got sort of the teams that are identified as potential buyers, let's talk about players that could be switching teams here. So I'm just going to move some things around because I want to see your guys' comments too. Make sure you guys are commenting in the chat. Hit those likes when we get to a player. If you want that player, if you haven't hit that like yet, make sure you do. Let's see how high we can get that like count before we're done here. So we talked about Kris Bryant. Just again, to recap for anybody that missed the beginning, I think it's a 33% chance that he is dealt before the start of the season. But if the Cubs are struggling, give me a 90% chance that he gets dealt in season if the Cubs are struggling. And Kris Bryant, I know a lot of folks don't like it. They feel like there's some decline there, but look back to 2019. I think 2019 is all you got to look at. Kris Bryant has a good future ahead of him, and you put him in the right lineup, I think some good things could happen for Kris Bryant. So that's my feeling. Now, whether the Mets are able to pull something off now or whether they're going to have to wait, we'll see. The Cubs may, all of a sudden the Cubs, they get rid of Darvish, they get rid of Schwarber, they did the non-tender, and then it sort of all dried up, right? The Cubs all of a sudden wanted a lot back, and the Baez rumors dwindled, the Contreras rumors dwindled. We'll talk about them in a minute. So how it all plays out with the Cubs, maybe they think, let's see what happens. Let's see if we can walk into a wild card spot. David Ross probably went in there, knocked on ownership's door and said, if you trade everybody, I'm out. You have to find a new coach too. I can't imagine David Ross took this job for the Cubs thinking that the whole thing was going to fall apart. Hockey Kid, we are going to talk some Jays. I do have the Jays as a potential fit for Kris Bryant because, Kris Bryant is a future guy, right? Kris Bryant could be with the Jays. If they trade for him and then sign him, he's going to be there for 5 years. Marcus Semien is only guaranteed for 1 year. So you could see a situation where the Jays go get Kris Bryant. Let's say there's an injury in the outfield. Let's say Gurriel gets hurt and they would like a left fielder. All of a sudden, the Blue Jays could be in the market for Kris Bryant again once the season started. And again, I think you might be able to give up less for Kris Bryant in the season than if you're trying to get a trade done now. Let's see, Jays, who do they have to get? I mean, there's some prospects that they could give. They could try to give Grichuk. There is an interesting component here, though, with that ownership. I shouldn't say ownership, with the front office, right? With Atkins and with Shapiro. Shapiro killed Anthopoulos for giving up prospects. So I really think Shapiro probably wants to hold on to Groshans and Manoah and Woods Richardson and all those guys to see what they pan out to be. Now, if we get to the trade deadline and the Blue Jays are one piece away from a World Series run to be a serious contender, they may say, you know what, let's deal. The Dodgers move with Bryant because the Dodgers are a World Series contender. Blue Jays got to look at it two different ways, right? Can we get to that point? Can we seriously compete with them at that level? Or do we just need to stick with what we got for this year, make a run in the playoffs, but we know really deep down, we're not going to tell anybody, though, that we're not going to beat the Dodgers in the World Series. If the Blue Jays don't do anything else, they're kind of showing their hand that we're going to be competitive. We're going to try to win the East. But we're not going all the way to that point. I'm interested to see how it all plays out. Biggio could be probably involved in a trade. Potentially Biggio is going to be there. I hope they hold on to him. I hope they're able to hold on to the core. I really do. I hope that the Jays are able to hold on to that core. Anyway, let's get into some of these other names. Let's talk about the other Cub. Hayden, you called it right there. Let's get into the next guy on my list of who might get traded, and it's Kyle Hendricks. Listen, this would require a good return because Hendricks does have a deal that goes for a few years. He signed through 2023. It's not an outrageous salary either. So the odds of him getting traded right now, I think, are at about 30%. In season, only about 50% because of the fact that you got a few years with Kyle Hendricks still on the team. The salary isn't outrageous. So there's a chance they hold on to him as they try to figure things out, as they try to reload. They hope that maybe Kyle Hendricks is a good part of that bullpen. So Kyle Hendricks is out there. Again, 30% odds of him getting dealt. Who might he go to if there is a trade that's going to happen? I think the Red Sox, if they are in the mix, could be in the middle. The Jays could get in the mix for Kyle Hendricks. They've sort of kicked the tires on that already, we know. And I also think the Twins, if they feel like they need to go out and get something done to get past the White Sox, totally. Justin Wilson to the Jays. I haven't heard that BZ baseball. It has been a hectic day over here. I know there's a lot going on. I think that there was some Justin Wilson news. You're going to have to fill me in. Mark Jones, definitely, I think we want to keep Biggio for sure. And we want to keep and pay all our young talent. Yes, Scott, 100%. If they can go and get Kyle Hendricks and they're able to deal, Randall Grichuk and maybe a prospect in that 10 to 20 range, maybe something like that. But I think the Cubs might want more. So Kyle Hendricks is an interesting name being out there. Is there a combo deal where it's Hendricks and it's Bryant? That's going to be a big question. Kyle, welcome in. Is there a deal where Kyle Hendricks is packaged, or is it a solo kind of situation? We'll see. How much are the Cubs asking for is a big component here. But I do think the Red Sox, Jays, and Twins would sort of lead the way as the favorites to go and get Kyle Hendricks if a trade is going to happen. But again, ideally, I feel like this is going to be in the season. If you want Kyle Hendricks on your team, hit that like and comments either in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, comment below in the comment section if you want Hendricks and what you're willing to give up. We are making reckless speculation here on the stream today. We are going to be talking about a lot of different guys. That is number 2 on the list. Next up, let's dig in to Matt Chapman. Right, he really popped up last night as trade bait for the Mets. How much real chances there are for that, or were for that, is anybody's guess at this point. Now, here's what I think. My odds for Matt Chapman getting traded right now, I'm only putting it at 10%. I don't think it's happening. I think he is going to hang tight. I think he's in his first. I know he's in his first year of arbitration. It's $6.5 million. He's not going to be a free agent until 2024. The A's still want to compete. I don't see Matt Chapman getting dealt during this period right now. I don't see it happening during the season. I think it only goes up marginally. I think it's up to about a 25% chance that Matt Chapman gets traded. He is the cornerstone of that team that just lost Marcus Semien. They're always able to just reload and be good. I mean, he's entering his age 28 season. In the 2 previous full seasons, 18 and 19, he was in the MVP conversation. He's only getting better. The fact that he's just entering his arbitration years, he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. Yeah, Kyle's got him maybe going to the deadline. Right, exactly. If he is going to get dealt, it'll be at the deadline, and that's really only if Oakland is looking bad. They have a good future with the rotation with Luzardo and Puck and some of the other pieces they've put together. They're not. I don't know if they go into full-on sell mode with Matt Chapman because, again, Matt Chapman's not an unrestricted free agent until 2024. So there is no need for them to sell Matt Chapman, trade him away, unless they're getting an incredible return. So Matt Chapman, I think, ultimately is going to hang tight. Let's get back to, and again, let me know, guys, if you are hanging out, hit that like if you want Matt Chapman. Comment in the chat if you want Matt Chapman. If you're catching the replay, comment below. What do you think? Do you think there's a realistic chance that Chapman gets dealt? I'm just not thinking it is a likely situation to happen. Let's get to the next side. Let's get back to the Cubs because there were a couple other big Cubs names. Next one's Javi Baez. So Javi Baez was mentioned as potential trade fodder. Anybody that was making any considerable money for the Cubs and could have any value was in the trade wins, and Javi Baez was there. Does he get traded between now and the start of the season, opening day? I'm going to give it a 10% chance. I don't see it happening. I think it is a very slim chance that he gets dealt. Now, in season, if the Cubs are struggling, I'm going to bump that up to a 60% chance. And I'm going to say that because he is in his final year. He is an unrestricted free agent after this season. So Baez, if he is going to get traded, it is going to be closer to the deadline. It's going to be if the Cubs are not winning. $11.6 million this year for Baez. Now, if he's going to get traded, where's he going to go? There's been talk about the Yankees. The Giants, I think, could get involved. The Phillies could get involved. Those are the three teams I like the most out of everyone that we've talked about as available. But the situation is, I think New York would eat him alive, ultimately. Kyle, you mentioned it earlier that Baez can be overrated. He was an MVP runner-up in 2018. He had a fine season in 2019. 2020 was bad, like it was for a lot of Cubs. Where he really falls is going to be interesting. He's going to be entering his age 28 season, so there's still some good time there for Javi Baez to do something good. He's a very good shortstop, so defensively he's a nice piece. But again, is he going to get traded between now and opening day? Probably not. The trade wins for Baez has died down a little bit. But in season, if the Cubs are struggling, I think Javi Baez could be on the move. And again, just another Cub that could be on the way out. If Baez gets dealt, if Bryant gets dealt, I think David Ross is walking too. I think David Ross is handing in his resignation because he didn't take this gig to be on a team that's just shedding all of their talent. So Javi Baez, again, likely to, if he gets traded, it's going to be during the season. I don't think it's going to happen between now and the start of the season. We got to see how the Cubs are playing. Now, does it go Yankees, Giants, or Phillies? Those are the three teams I mentioned for Baez as a potential here. Again, New York, I think, would eat him alive with some of the slumps he can go into. The Giants would be a nice place for him to go. Crawford, I think, could be getting towards the end of his run. The Phillies could certainly use him. So those are three teams I think that Baez could fit into. Comment in the chat. Comment below in the comments who you think Baez might make sense for. Let's see. Yeah, Justin Wilson close to signing with an unknown team. I'm not sure. There's a lot of teams out there that could use bullpen help. Derek, we will get to Jose Ramirez in just a few. I do have him on the list. I do want to get to one more Cub before we move on, and that is Willson Contreras. Great young catcher, right? Is in his final year of arbitration. So that's why I think that there's a chance similar to Baez. Will he get traded between now and opening day? I'm only going to give it a 10% chance. But does he get traded midseason if the Cubs are underperforming? I think there's a 60% chance that Willson Contreras is on his way out because he's in that final year of arbitration. And his salary is out of control, $6.6 million this year. How he goes into, the walk year. Listen, does Willson Contreras perform like he's never performed before because he's trying to get that contract? We'll see. The Astros could make sense for him. The Nats could make sense for him. And honestly, if we're trying to find a third team, it's a coin flip. There's a lot of teams that could use a second catcher kind of situation, might use Willson Contreras to upgrade their catcher. So it's really a coin flip for the third team. But as we're looking at teams that have a hole at the catcher spot and teams that are going to be in win mode, Astros and Nats make sense to me as potential trade partners. Was an all-star in 18 and 19. Again, nice seasons there. 2020 wasn't that bad for him. 356 on base, 7 homers in 57 games. Contreras was fine. But again, I think Astros and Nats really make sense for Willson Contreras. Comment in the chat, comment below. Let me know what your trade looks like and hit that like. If you want these deals to happen. If you want these trades to go down, hit that like if you want Willson Contreras on your squad. Let's get to the next guy, and this is probably the most realistic trade to happen the soonest, and it's Garrett Cooper. Thoughts on a potential deal with the Dodgers? I think this is if Justin Turner's not going back to LA, what you do is you go trade for Garrett Cooper, you slide Max Muncy to third, Garrett Cooper's your first baseman, and you're good to go. In 2019, Garrett Cooper, 15 homers, a 281, 346, 446 slash line. Put him in that Dodger lineup in a platoon situation, right? That's how he'll play for sure. I think he does fine. I think Garrett Cooper initially was kind of a head scratcher, but the more you think about it, if Justin Turner's not coming back and they can get Garrett Cooper on the cheap, I think they do the deal. I think they do that deal. If that deal happens while Justin Turner's still a free agent, that means he's not coming back. That means the Dodgers have moved on and Cooper's going to be the first baseman. Muncy's going to be the third baseman, and they'll just move the pieces around, right? They will just move the pieces around. Cooper's going to be entering his age 30 season. Again, a nice season, 2019, a good shortened, 34 games, 6 homers last year. Not bad. Not bad, right? So this would be a decent move for the Marlins and a decent move for the Dodgers. I wouldn't now if it happens, it's got to happen now. This is not something that happens again. It's not something the Dodgers revisit, I think, during the season. I think if this trade is going to go down, it is going to go down now. So that's my thoughts on Garrett Cooper. Dodgers fans that might be in the chat, what do you think? Do you want Garrett Cooper? Hit that like if you're down with Garrett Cooper. Comment below. Comment in the chat. What are your thoughts on Garrett Cooper? Do you only want him if it doesn't matter about Justin Turner, if there are no implications? I think there would be, though. So that is my thought on Garrett Cooper in that whole situation. Let's get to so next up, we're going to get into some Reds. We're going to talk about some Cincinnati Reds that have been in the trade wins all offseason. It feels like the Reds made that move. They got rid of Raisel Iglesias. It felt like it was just going to be a selling spree. Gray, Castillo, Suarez, everybody's on the move, and then it slowed down. But let's talk about Sonny Gray for a minute. Sonny Gray. So many teams make sense for Sonny Gray. So many that it actually makes sense for the Reds to hold on a little bit, because as teams get a little bit more desperate, as teams get to a point where they think, okay, we're one guy away, we're one starter away, they might get more for Sonny Gray. So here's my feeling. Trade between now and opening day, I think it's a 20% chance. Odds in the season, I think it is a 90% chance that Sonny Gray gets dealt. And I think the teams that make the most sense of everybody that we've talked about could be the Mets, the Blue Jays, the Twins, and the Red Sox. I think those would be the teams that will be most likely to get in on a Sonny Gray situation. I think that it will happen. I think that it happens during the season, though. I think the Reds start the year. They realize they're not going to compete with the top 3 in that division, and they decide to move on. And I think they'll get more, because that's the other piece. He is locked in $10 million this year, then club options, $12 million for 2023. So $10 million this year and next, and then a $12 million club option for 2023. So that's a great salary. That's a great situation for any team, and he's entering his age 31 season, should have some more in the tank. Jays fans, I would love Sonny Gray. I see Kyle. I see you there. I would love Sonny Gray. I'd love to have him pitching against the Yankees. I think he would have a chip on his shoulder. Now, he's not going to go to a Central team, right? Of all the teams we talked about that could be in the mix, those Central teams are out. He's not going to get traded to the Cubs or the Brewers or anybody like that. It makes sense for the Reds to trade him to the American League. Jays, Twins, Red Sox, I think, are the leaders. I could see the Mets sneaking in potentially. So, again, Sonny Gray. Next up, we're talking Reds here. If you want a Red on your team, hit that like. Let's talk about maybe the highest profile name, and that's Luis Castillo. That's probably the guy everybody wants. The Yankees were out when the Reds said, okay, we'll do it, but we want Gleyber Torres. The Yankees were like, thanks, but no thanks. Does a team make that move during the season if they feel like Luis Castillo gives them the chance to win a World Series? We're going to see. He is not going to get traded between now and opening day. I have it at a 5% chance that he gets dealt between now and opening day. I give it a 30% chance in season. And the reason being, he's just starting his arbitration years. He's under control. He's cheap. The Reds are not going to have any reason to do any trade anytime soon. I feel like the Central is so volatile that, yeah, this year the Reds are out of it, but next year the Reds could be back in it, and Luis Castillo could be a part of that when they do get back into it. He's going to be entering his age 28 season. He's only been getting better these last few years. And if they wanted Gleyber Torres from the Yankees, that means they'll want Bo Bichette from the Blue Jays. That means they're basically going to want your best young player. So if we are going to rank teams that may be in the mix for Luis Castillo, I'm going to say Astros, Yankees, and Blue Jays could be the teams. Now, things are going to have to change, right? The Blue Jays are going to have to maybe be willing to part with Lourdes Gurriel. The Yankees, maybe they don't give up Torres, but maybe they give up Clint Frazier if he's having a good year and a top prospect. The Astros, maybe they have to deal Kyle Tucker, but maybe something happens and that makes sense. I don't know, but it is going to have to be a big piece. Will have to be a big piece heading to the Reds. Now, I see Mets. Here's a thought. Would the Mets fans, would you do this deal? Would you do Dom Smith for Luis Castillo? Would Dom Smith be enough? Dom Smith and maybe a prospect. That's an interesting thought. Now, the Mets have also been linked to a Sonny Gray and this guy, Eugenio Suarez. Is there a package with Sonny Gray for Suarez? Here's what makes that hard. His salary, just like Sonny Gray's, is amazing. $10.5 million this year, $11 million the next 3 years, and then a club option, $15 million in 2025. He is in a great spot for a team. That salary is ridiculous. Considering the numbers he's been putting up, 34 homers in 18, 49 homers in 19, 15 homers in the 57 games that he played last year. His numbers are great. He's maybe one of the most underrated players in baseball, in my opinion. He is fantastic, and that is going to make it hard to get the two of them. The fact that both Gray and Suarez have very team-friendly deals for the type of production they put up, these guys should be making, you could argue Eugenio Suarez should be making near $20 million a year. You could say Sonny Gray should be making 15, 16, 17 million bucks a year. All right, James Paxton wants $11 million. Who would you rather have, James Paxton or Sonny Gray? I think you'd rather have Sonny Gray, just from a talent perspective. And James Paxton is going to want that of or more than Sonny Gray. So the deals are interesting. Let's talk about what the odds are. I think the odds of him getting traded now before the season starts, I'm only going to put it at 20%. The odds in season, I'm going to say it's 50%. I think it's going to be a 50-50 proposition, and the Reds are going to have somebody come and just knock their socks off. Now, who might do it? I could see the Mets getting involved. I could see the Giants getting involved. The Braves could get involved, and so could the Jays. The Braves could walk in and say, we'll give you Austin Riley, we'll give you Drew Waiters, and we'll give you one of our pitching prospects. And what do you think? The Blue Jays, if they think this is the missing piece, they could go in there and say, we'll give you Randall Grichuk, we'll give you our top pitching prospect. Who's the top pitching prospect right now? It appears, I think, is Manoah. We're going to see who maybe gets it done, but I'm only going to put him at about 50%. Suarez is a big piece. I know a lot of teams will like him now. So if you want Eugenio Suarez, make sure you hit that like. Who wouldn't want Eugenio Suarez? Hit that like if you're down with some Eugenio Suarez on your squad. Milton, Mets will add a low-end starter, probably a minor bullpen arm, not make any major trade until – I think some of these teams are going to settle into what they've done, and what you see will be just some minor moves. Look at what the Dodgers did today with a couple of trades. You're right. Woods Richardson is higher than Manoah, Kyle. Thank you for that. I think he is the top pitching prospects at this point. So maybe he's going to the Reds if the Blue Jays want to do a Suarez deal. But I do think that if that Suarez trade win picks back up, I do think the Jays will be pulled into that. All right, so we have gone through a bunch of guys. Everybody that is here, thank you for hopping in on a Friday afternoon. We've talked Kris Bryant, Kyle Hendricks, Matt Chapman, Javier Baez, Willson Contreras, Garrett Cooper, Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, Eugenio Suarez. We have talked a ton of guys. So if you're just hopping in, you will want to check out the replay. Again, I'm giving my odds on a deal happening now versus a deal happening in season, and the likelihood where they might land. So again, hit the like if you're just checking it out. If you are a fan of just trades happening, man, just big on trades, hit that like if you want one of these guys. Let's get to the next guy. Big name here. Big name here. We are going out to the Colorado Rockies. We got 3 players to talk about here. We're talking Trevor Story. What do we think? Do we think Trevor Story is going to get dealt? Here's my feeling on this. They are going to try their hardest to get him to re-sign. So he will not get traded between now and the start of the season unless somebody comes along and gives the world for Trevor Story. However, once you get into the regular season, let's say the Rockies are in last place like we know they're going to be, and Trevor Story's telling the Rockies, I'm not going to re-sign. Trevor Story is going to be traded. I'm going to give it a 75% chance. If he tells the Rockies, not resigning, I don't like what you did with Tulo, I don't like what you did with Arenado, I'm out. Trade me. I think he ends up getting traded for that reason, and he would be an incredible get. Entering his age 28 season, has been in the MVP conversation, getting MVP votes each of the last 3 years. He's got power, he's got speed, but where could he land? Where could he go? Well, I got 4 teams that I think could be in the mix. Of all the teams we talked about that are going to be buyers this year, looking at the situations, I think the Blue Jays could get in the mix. I think the Giants could get in the mix. The Phillies and the Brewers. Those are the 4 teams that I think would get in the mix. The Blue Jays, because Simeon's a 1-year deal. Simeon is a 1-year thing. Maybe they go get Trevor Story. The Giants are making moves to be good. And if they get to a point where they're thinking, you know what, Trevor Story is our piece, that's what we need to get into the playoffs and push the Padres, and then, you know, it's our first step. If the Giants are looking to make their first step, I could see the Giants getting in on Trevor Story for sure. And the Phillies, they want to compete. They gotta compete with 4 other really tough teams in that division. So there is a situation where Trevor Story, I think it's going to be between 4 teams, Jays, Giants, Phillies, and Brewers, to get Trevor Story, and whoever gets him is going to be happy. I think he's a beast. He's a 30 homer, 20 steal guy. He's hitting. Mariners, I don't think the Mariners are a few years away. If we were 3 years down the road, I would say Mariners, because those outfielders would be up. They would be putting it together. I would not see it happening. And yes, they're not going to give up any of those assets at this point. They want those assets to be on the team. So I would cross the Mariners off from that one. But I got Jays, Giants, and Phillies. Let's stick with the Rockies. Let's look at that pitcher, Marquez. What do we think about Marquez? There's been some thought that maybe the Blue Jays could be an option here. I do think the Rockies are going to want to trade him. Odds of it happening between now and opening day, give me 40%. Odds of it happening during the season, give me 60%. I think the Jays, Red Sox, Twins, and Astros could be in on him. The White Sox, if they go through a rash of injuries, the Cardinals might sneak in there too. There are a lot of teams that could use Marquez. Here's why I think Colorado is going to get rid of him. That salary gets up there. $7.5 million this year. That's easy to swallow. 11 the year after that. Reasonable. Then $15 million the final year. It's not out of control, but it's also probably not something the Rockies want to deal with. So for that reason, I can see them moving on from Marquez. And if they can get something reasonable for him, because again, that salary is favorable to a team right now, this year and next year. So I could see them making it happen. And the Jays could get in there. The Red Sox could get in there. The Twins, we know the Twins need to make a move for pitching again. And he's one of the guys that I have at a higher percentage of getting dealt between now and the opening day. I got him at 40%. I think it ups to 60% if we get into the season and he's still on that club. We got one more Rocky to get to. It's the lifer, Chuck Nasty, Charlie Blackmon. Here's the thing about Charlie Blackmon. He's making $21 million this year, and he's got a $21 million player option next year. So whoever's going to take him on is taking on some of that salary unless the Rockies are willing to eat some of it. And they're eating some of that Arenado salary, so they may not be inclined to do that. There's a $13 million player option in 2023, which he's not going to take. He's going to go get paid more than that. So you got $20 million for Charlie Blackmon for 2 years. So because of that, I don't think he's going to get traded now. Not going to get traded between now and opening day. I'm only going to do 10%. In season, though, I think it jumps. I think it's a 50-50 chance that Charlie Blackmon gets traded in season. I got the Braves, Phillies, White Sox, and Athletics as potential suitors. The Braves with Ozuna in there, that's nice. If Blackmon is the missing piece for the Braves, I think they might go do it. The Phillies, I think, could potentially get into that situation. The White Sox, if the White Sox feel like this is what they need to do to get the World Series, I have a feeling the White Sox could get involved, and I wouldn't be surprised if the A's get involved. Charlie Blackmon, I think there is a very good chance that he gets dealt in season. The Rockies might have to eat some of that. Yes, David, exactly. He has a big contract, $20 million this year, $21 million option next year, which he's probably going to take. So that's what you got. You got $40 million, but will the Rockies take some of that? Will the Rockies maybe take $5 million of that each year? That is going to be a big piece to this. But even if they don't, I can still see the Braves getting involved. I can see the Phillies getting involved if that's the difference between them missing the playoffs and maybe getting in. It's really going to depend on things. And the White Sox, we know the White Sox are heavily invested. Did they go over the top? Charlie Blackmon could be an interesting piece. Great point, David, about the universal DH. If the National League gets that DH, again, the likelihood goes even higher that Charlie Blackmon gets dealt. We're going to talk about maybe the craziest name on here, the stupidest name, but we got to talk about it because his name did come up with the Braves, and it's Jose Ramirez. Now, that salary, the club option, is insanely beneficial to the Cleveland Indians. The reason they traded Lindor was because Lindor was at the end of that arbitration string. Jose Ramirez is $9 million this year, and then club options, $12 million in 2022 and $14 million in 2023. They have stolen Jose Ramirez. The Indians have. So here's my feeling. The odds of him getting traded now, I give it 5%. If the Braves pull up and are willing to drop off Pache and Waiters and Kyle Wright and Bryce Wilson, sure, I think the Indians do that deal. But I don't see it happening outside of that. And a 20% chance if it's during the season. And that really just depends on how things are going. And again, teams are going to have to show up and just give them the world. The Braves, if anyone's going to do it, I think the Braves, the Mets, and the Jays are the three teams that could be in the mix for Jose Ramirez. Again, they're going to have to give up a lot. And we're just going to have to wait and kind of see how that plays out. Let's dig into that. What do you guys think? Again, comment. Do you think there is even a chance that Jose Ramirez is going to get dealt? I think it is very unlikely. Again, I got 5% chance that it happens between now and opening day, and only 20% that is going to happen once the season gets started. So let's move on. Let's move on to the next, because again, this is fantasy baseball stuff. This is highly unlikely to happen, but the Braves were talking about it. The Braves were linked to them. We'll see if anything actually happens. Let's talk about the Blue Jays again. Let's do that for a second. What do you guys think about David Price? Is this going to happen? I think there's a 25% chance that it happens now. And even during the season, I think it's a 25% chance that David Price is going to get dealt. We know that half of that salary is being paid for by the Red Sox. If the Dodgers are willing to take some of that salary, do the Blue Jays, the Twins, the A's, Phillies, or Brewers get involved? Jays fans that are in the chat, Jays fans that are watching after the fact and have the comments below, what do you think? Would you like David Price back? Comment below. What do you think? What would you be willing to give up? Because of the salary, because of the age, I don't think you would have to give a lot up. And that's key. is what do you have to give up? I don't think they would have to give much up for David Price. The Dodgers, he's sort of expendable now with how deep that rotation is. They might move on. If he's for the number, let's say the number 25 prospect in the Jays system and Reese McGuire, would you do that deal? Would you do Reese McGuire and the number 20 prospect in the system? That's realistic. And I think that's what the market will be for him. And again, the Dodgers might have to take some of that salary. So David Price is an interesting piece. Comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you're into David Price, if you're into getting David Price on the cheap, hit the like. Let me know what you think about that. All right, so let's move on. We've got a couple more to do. We have gone through the Rockies, we've gone through the Reds, we've gone through the Cubs, we've done everything. So anybody that's just hopping in now, you'll want to check out the replay. The next big name, we got one more really big name, and then we've got some other. I don't want to call them minor pieces, but could still be important. Let's go to Josh Hader. So, odds of him getting traded now, between now and opening day, I'm only going to put it at 10%. In season, I think it's only going to be up to 30%. I think there will be a lot of buzz in season about a Josh Hader trade, but he's not going to go to a central team because whoever gets him is getting a couple more years of control, $6.6 million this year, arbitration the next 2 years. So the Brewers are not going to trade him to any of those central teams that might be competing, right? So the Cardinals are out. Anybody else is out. If the Cubs want to, maybe they're out. They're going to probably want to send him to the American League. So that gets the Twins, the Astros, the A's, the Yankees, the Blue Jays as potential suitors for Josh Hader. But we've heard that the Brewers want major league talent and minor league talent. They want a package. William likes a deadline deal to the Braves. The problem is the Braves are going to have to give up a lot, and it's a bullpen arm at the end of the day. A great one, but do you give up Drew Waters or Christian Pache and maybe another guy for Hader? I don't think that's going down. I mean, you saw what happened with the Cubs and the Yankees, right? Gleyber Torres, essentially it was Gleyber Torres for Aroldis Chapman, and the Cubs have to hate themselves for doing that deal. So I don't know if anybody wants to run that back and experience that all over again. So that's going to be an interesting part for Josh Hader. His price tag is going to be very high for the next couple of years until he gets closer to his free agent period. And then I think a trade for him gets very likely. If a team comes to the table and is like, we need Josh Hader to win a World Series, that's where that 30% comes in. And maybe it's the Astros, maybe it's the Yankees. If they have a Chapman issue, maybe the Blue Jays. Maybe the Blue Jays go crazy. Braves could be in the mix. But again, I got to think that the Brewers are just going to want to get him out of the National League. So we've covered a lot, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this, talking about potential trades. The trade winds have been swirling. We had some minor trades today. I wanted to dig in and talk about some big trades. Here's who we have covered. For everybody that is just coming in now, wondering what we're talking about, we've talked about all the Cubs players. We talked about Matt Chapman. We talked about the three Reds guys, Gray, Castillo, and Suarez. We talked about Cooper to the Dodgers, the Rockies guys, Story, Marquez, and Blackmon. We touched on Jose Ramirez. We touched on David Price and Josh Hader. Now we're going to get into a couple guys, and I actually mentioned this on David Knight's stream last night. We were talking about the American League East. If you want to hear some American League East talk, make sure you check out his channel. He and I dug into that. Felix Hernandez is an interesting one to me. Going to the Orioles, I think it is a great move for the Orioles to go get Felix Hernandez. He will start, and if he pitches well, he is going to be a trade piece. 1,000%. He will get traded. William, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you for that, William. Rooting for your Braves. I'm rooting for your Braves. I hope they do good things. So thank you for the super chat. I think Felix Hernandez could get traded. If he's having a good year, a resurgent year for the Orioles, they are definitely going to want to move on for him. Welcome in, Tyler. Thank you for hopping in. We're talking trades. We're talking big trades today. So we are all about a potential Felix Hernandez, King Felix to somebody who could fit. We've talked about a lot of these pitching destinations for guys, the Blue Jays, the Twins, the A's, Phillies, Brewers, anybody that's in the mix will be in the mix for Felix Hernandez if he's having a resurgence. Now, if he goes to the Orioles and he's bad, no one's going to want him. There's going to be no value. But the Orioles, great move by the Orioles, because if it's going well, he's going to move and he's going to bring them something back. So I like Felix Hernandez as a potential trade piece. Let's talk about another guy. Let's jump to this guy. And David Knight, I know this is going to sting you for a second, but let me explain. Kyle Schwarber, all right? If the Nats have nothing going on, if it is looking like they're going to miss that wild card spot, let's say Scherzer gets hurt and the rotation is down, I have to think that Kyle Schwarber is going to be on the trade market. Not going to happen now. 0% chance, obviously. But during the season, if the Nats are struggling, I think there's a 50% chance that Kyle Schwarber will be dealt, and it'll be a good move because it'll bring them some prospects back. But if the Nats are in it, he's obviously staying. But if the Nats are out of it, Kyle Schwarber could be on the move again from the Nationals. But let's hope that the Nats are in it. I think that'll make for a more competitive National League East. So we're going to watch, but we'll see about that. I think he could be in the mix for trade if someone's going out. Let's dig into this one. I have a couple more. Let's talk about Gregory Polanco for a second, okay? Gregory Polanco, $11 million this year. Then club options, $12 million and $13 million for the next 2 years. He's had some nice seasons, right? 2019 injury shortened. Last year struggled. So off the radar, might not have to give up a whole lot for him. Right now, I don't think he's getting traded. 0% chance between now and opening. But during the season, don't be surprised if you hear some Gregory Polanco trade buzz during the season. I think there's a 50% chance that he gets dealt during the season. You can see the Red Sox, if they're in the mix making a move, the Twins, the Braves, the Phillies, the Nats. There's a lot of teams that if they're winning, Gregory Polanco could be in the mix. Only going to be entering his age 29 season. And again, a generally favorable contract. You know, upside of 20 homers and 20 steals if he's healthy. I like Gregory Polanco for a team if they're trying to win and don't want to give up a lot. Because I don't think Polanco would cost a lot in return. How about this guy? How about Kyle Seager? Can somebody answer this for me in the chat? Why is Kyle Seager still with the Mariners? I mean, all kidding aside, they're not trying to win. He's entering his age 33 season. Why is he still on the Mariners? $18 million this year. Maybe that's why. A $15 million club option after next year. So he's got to be getting to the point with his salary where he's available. Not going to happen between now and opening day. But in season, regardless, I think he's on the move. And where could he go? Give me Giants, Braves, White Sox to the DH spot. I love him to the White Sox at DH. If the White Sox don't address DH between now and opening day, then I think Seager would be a great move. Or the A's. And you get a guy for a couple years. I think Kyle Seager is a very interesting piece potentially here. $18 million this year, $15 million club option. So again, if he comes to your team and he's bad, you got a club option, you don't renew him. Shouldn't have to give up a whole lot. I like Kyle Seager to move. Do the Dodgers maybe go and get him and reunite him with his brother? That's an interesting piece. Comment below. Comment in the chat. Let's get down in the comments. If you're watching the replay, let me know what you think about that. So let's go. Couple more here as we get into the home stretch. What do you think, Jonathan Schoop? I think the Tigers are in a mode where they bring him back, hoping that he's going to do something good. He's had some nice seasons. He's got a little bit of pop. I think Jonathan Schoop could be on the move during the season. We're really kind of diving into at this point with Felix and Schoop and Schwarber and Polanco. These are the guys who you're going to hear about in season as potential trade pieces. Again, this is all about what we are doing here in this stream. If you missed it at the beginning, this is reckless speculation. This is all about what might happen. This is, again, reckless speculation that we're diving into here. Schoop could be on the move. If the Tigers, we know the Tigers are going to struggle. If he could bring them something of value back, they should move him. They definitely should move him. And David Peralta with the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are in a tough spot where they're just on the outside looking in with the Dodgers and the Padres. They've made some moves, the Bumgarner deal where they were trying to compete, but then all of a sudden the Padres come out of left field and just blow by them. So there's going to be some pieces from the Diamondbacks that start to go, and I think Peralta is going to be one of those. I don't think you could trade that Bumgarner salary just yet, but you could maybe send Peralta out and see some moves there. So you could see Hernandez, Schoop, Schwarber if the Nationals aren't winning, Peralta, Polanco as during the season trade pieces. None of these guys are going to get traded between now and opening day, but during the season, there is certainly some opportunity for some trades to happen. So we have gone through a lot of names. We got 21 potential trades that we are throwing out there, potential trade pieces that we are throwing out there. Again, from Bryant and Chapman all the way down to Price and Ramirez and Hader, covering a lot. You guys that are in the chat live, let me know what you think. DJ Storm, you like Peralta to the Yankees in July? Could be a nice move, especially if the Yankees hit one of those injury, sprints again, where everyone's just getting hurt, pulling pecs and, and breaking stuff. Peralta would be a nice addition. Of everybody that we talked about, some of those under the radar moves, who's the most interesting to you? Would you like Schoop towards the end of the season? What do you think? A lot of potential moves out there, and I think the big heavy lifting might be done between now and opening day, but you could still be surprised, and I'd love to see it. Jim, tell the Jays to land Paxton already. Well, Tyler, I was actually thinking about that last night. David and I were talking. We were doing his stream for the American League East, and here's my worry: if the Blue Jays really value Steven Matz as a starter, there's no way James Paxton is going to the Blue Jays. There's no way. Think about it. The Blue Jays would then have Ryu, Ray, Matz. There's 3 lefty starters. They're not going to have 4 lefty starters. So it really just depends, how do the Blue Jays view Steven Matz? If they think that Steven Matz is a starter, there's no way James Paxton is coming to the Blue Jays. They will not have 4 left-handed starters. So yeah, we're going to see how that all plays out. But I have a feeling that James Paxton, it's probably more likely to be Odorizzi or Walker at this point. And there was some little bit of smoke today about the Blue Jays recently checking in on Taijuan Walker. I think that's probably the next move for Toronto. I don't think Paxton wants to sign a 1-year deal with the Blue Jays, and he wants at least $11 million. That's the word. That was the word today too. So do the Blue Jays want to go that high on James Paxton? That's an interesting piece. I hope he bounces back too. I think he will. It's just a matter of now, does he fit the Blue Jays rotation? And I don't know. I honestly, if Matz is going to be a starter, then no, he doesn't fit. You can't have 4 left-handed starters. That Yankee lineup is all right-handed, and righties traditionally have higher splits against lefty pitching. We can't have the team that we're going to be trying to get over on in that American League East with terrible matchups. It's not going to happen. Let's see. DJ Storm likes Walker or Odorizzi to the Jays. It's what they got to do. It's what they've got to do. I think enough of the sort of high upside, low risk free agents are now off the board, like Corey Kluber or Chris Archer. They're gone now. I'm kind of getting to the point where Jake Odorizzi might actually be high risk, because I think they're going to have to spend some money, and there's going to have to be years on that deal. So, yeah, there's Derek Seager's bro is interesting. Definitely. I think Kyle Seager, let's make that move. Get him somewhere else. Get him out of Seattle. It's time. It is definitely time for Seager to move on. And again, Gregory Polanco, I maintain that he would be an under-the-radar move potentially to a team, and the tools he possesses could start a fire, could spark something with the team if he goes somewhere. I would love to see something like that to somewhere. There's some good opportunity for a Polanco deal once things get going. So lots could happen here. Lots could happen. Jake Odorizzi, 2 years, $28 million for Seager. Yeah, I mean, I think it might be more than 2. I think it might be more than 2. That's my feeling on that. Yeah, Jays are definitely not done. It's going to be fun. I mean, the trades are really the exciting part of this time of year. Who tries to do something last minute to better the team, and once we get into the season. Let's see. That's why I don't think Price is a fit for the Jays on the lefty. DJ Storm, great point. Great point. David Price to the Blue Jays. We can't have 4 lefty starters. Only if they go and get David Price, that means Steven Matz is in the bullpen. Lady Braves 93. Braves is not done. I agree with you. I think the Braves are going to make some moves. I think the Braves are definitely going to make some moves. Everybody that is hanging out in the chat, make sure to hit the like. Let's get this thing. We're not at 100 yet. Can we get up there? Can we start? Can we knock on the door? We had 130 people, 131 people in here now. We need about 40 likes to get to 100. We've done this before where we've made that jump in a matter of minutes. So if you're hanging out, you enjoying the conversation, you haven't hit the like yet, hit that like. Let's get this thing up close to 100. Let's get up there. So hit that like if you are enjoying the conversation. If you want your team to do something, hit that like and let's get this thing up there. So what is going on? Who's getting traded where? Amazing Baseball Plays. Thanks for hopping in. We went through 21 players here. We talked about Bryant and Chapman and Hendricks and Baez and Contreras and all of the Reds and all of the Rockies. We went through everybody. You're going to have to ask me maybe specifically who you're interested in hearing about. We talked about pretty much everybody that has been either in those trade wins recently or in the trade wins over the last month or so. We kind of went through everybody. You're going to have to give me a request. The Rockies will never trade Story. Wolf, here's the thing, though. If we get into the season and he is not going to sign, if he tells the Rockies, I'm not going to resign, he will 1,000% get traded. They're going to be in last place this year. They're probably going to be in last place next year. He's going to get traded. He will get traded if he tells them I'm not resigning, it's going down. He's going to be on his way out. Yes, Amazing Baseball Plays. Definitely check out the replay. Again, we have covered Kris Bryant, Kyle Hendricks, Contreras, and Baez. So the 4 Cubs. We covered Matt Chapman, who popped up yesterday. We covered Cooper and the Dodgers, Gray, Castillo, and Suarez. Then we went to the Rockies and covered Story, Marquez, and Blackmon. We talked about Jose Ramirez. We talked about David Price, Josh Hader. Then we kind of dug a little bit deeper with Felix Hernandez, Jonathan Schoop, Kyle Seager, Gregory Polanco, David Peralta, and we talked about Kyle Schwarber if the Nats end up in a situation where they are not going to make the playoffs. So we got a lot. We covered a lot today. So make sure. And the beauty of it is, guys, if you need to go back and catch the replay, I got thumbnails up every time. So you want to catch just the part about Trevor Story or just the part about Matt Chapman or just the Felix Hernandez part, that's what it'll be on the screen. You'll know I'm talking about it because it will be on the thumbnail. So you'll see that. So let's hope that we get something good. Would love to see some trades happen. There are a few that I do think there are some chances of trades happening. I think there's a 40% chance that Marquez gets traded. I think that there is who else do we have with a high chance to get traded? I think there's a 50% chance Cooper gets traded. There are some guys that I think could get traded. A high percentage likelihood between now and opening day. Thank you guys for hopping in. This was a pop-up. I pulled this thing up, and I think I gave everybody about a 5-minute notice, so I appreciate everybody that came in strong and was here to chat live. Again, if you're catching the replay, comment below. Make sure you guys hit that like before we wind down. Want to get this thing up there. Let's get as many likes as we can. We are going to wind down, so hit the like on the way out before you click out. Make sure you hit the like. And again, I love you guys for being here, commenting in the chat. Comments below. Anybody that is, again, catching the replay, let me know what you think. What is your trade for any of the players that we mentioned? What do you want your team to do? Thank you guys again. As always, stay close to the channel. When any of these deals go down, I will be on to break it down, talk about it. If it happens, if it's big enough, I'll go live. So thank you guys. We will we'll keep an eye on all of this stuff and stay close, everybody. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I look forward to talking to you next time something big happens. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.